And we are live. Hello. If you happen to have stumbled upon this video, welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a sketchbook tour. I've got about a fair number of sketchbooks next to me. The main theme behind this tour is that a lot of the drawings that I've done in pretty much all of these sketch pads are all drawings that pretty much stemmed from a book that I've been writing. It's a little project of mine that's been about, how long now? About almost 2 years in the making. I've been working on it for a fair bit. Just recently finished a first edit, which is about 160,000 words, so it's quite an accomplishment. But the drawings, however, came to life a lot earlier than the words did. So pretty much all of my imagination was pretty much poured out into these drawings. The book is a fantasy epic of sorts. No, that's exactly what it is. It's a fantasy epic. Big variety of characters, magic, mischief, and mayhem. We'll get into that in time. But anyway, you've been staring at this sketchbook in particular for long enough. This was the first one that I pretty much sank my teeth into. And I started drawing these long after a big hiatus of mine, where I started getting back into drawing. I digress. Let's get started. Let's dive right in. So, God, look at me practicing all of these eyes. Anyway, story wouldn't be a story without our main protagonist, our main hero. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't exactly, it's not exactly, exactly Leonardo da Vinci's work, but it is what it is. Again, this was about 2 years ago when I started drawing again, and looks pretty amateur. Anyway, our main character, his name is Marcus, and again, this is, God, looking back on this, there's a good couple of flaws that I can point out here. I mean, his head's a little too oval shaped. There isn't really, I didn't really put in an outline at first. I just sort of ran in with the ink pen and got straight to it. But anyway, I think even then it just looks all right. But trust me, it definitely gets up from here. The more that I practiced, it definitely got better. But this definitely isn't the look that I settled for in the long run. Anyway, I did a second drawing of him, but this time definitely more in action. And again, so many different flaws with this one. I pretty much did no shading. It's pretty much no... The proportions aren't exactly correct in any regard. But anyway, this is mostly the boring amateur stuff. But again, it all started with this one. This drawing in particular pretty much started everything. So it's another one of him in action. The third one I don't think is nearly as good. I sort of stopped after again, this is still Marcus, but what he's sort of wearing is sort of in this fantasy world of mine, this is what he's wearing is essentially the equivalent of a suit and tie, a tuxedo. But again, this one doesn't look good, like at all, to be honest. Anyway, so those are my 3 drawings of Marcus that I did. And after this one, we have our second main character, Ronan. Now, Ronan is definitely more of a criminal turned mercenary who quickly becomes friends with Marcus in the first book. They quite literally bump into each other on the road, while this fella is on the run. But yes, Ronan is definitely your gunslinger type. Then, of course, you've got these here. I sort of got this idea for his shins from the wrappings that you put around your boots, like soldiers did in World War One. I digress, but the hat is definitely Ronan's most notable feature, with the hat sticking out there. But again, this definitely isn't the final image of what Ronan's supposed to look like. This was a very long time ago. And then I did a second drawing of him, And this one I pretty much stopped doing immediately because I realized that I pretty much mucked up his eye. In fact, you can still see the pencil marks that I didn't bother to erase because I knew I'd mucked it up. Anyway, let's just quickly breeze through most of these. Here's just a rough drawing of the world map. Again, that I digress. What else have we got in here? I'll breeze through the small one very quickly. Okay, here we go. I realized that my first drawing of Marcus wasn't nearly good enough, and I felt the need to improve on it. And then I did this one. Now, this one definitely... So we're still on Marcus. We gave him a weapon now. This is definitely the point where I really started to solidify what Marcus was supposed to look like. So now he's got a white and red coat, a big white coat with red trimming. It's kind of got a bit of a Castlevania thing going on with the collars. Yeah, again, still not perfect, but it's definitely closer to the look that I expect him to have there. The amulet is his most notable feature. That'll be very important in the story. So I loved that one when I did it, and then I did another one, but this time I decided to put Marcus into a background of sorts. So this time around, he's sitting amongst the ruins of some abandoned temple. You've got the moon out the back there. And what he's doing here is that he's using a form of magic in order to essentially conjure his sword from out of thin air from another location where he's kept it. So you can see that he's got a bit of a grin as he's finally managed to pull this one off. Conjuring his sword straight up out of thin air. I like that one. But again, I didn't really focus too much on background stuff. Even the shadow is pretty poorly done. What else have we got here? That's just a drawing of a deep sea creature. Again, that's just a rough sketch, nothing good and proper. Okay, right. Third character, Teresa. Now, Teresa is Marcus's sister. She's very quiet, very reserved. Definitely the defender of the group. She has very protective instincts towards her baby brother. And again, this definitely wasn't the look that I settled for on her. I mean, she definitely wields the staff later on, but yeah, not quite. And you can definitely see at this point that I definitely didn't start doing anything in terms of shading. What else have we got in here? Oh yes, another one of Marcus. And this one I liked. See, now he's got a cape and everything. The sun, a couple of the moons in the back, the clouds. The capital city of Amberforth down here, way out in the landscape. A lot of trees, a lot of mountains. I like this one. It's definitely not looking... Yeah, I'd say that's a definite improvement in the long run. Moving on, a couple of... Oh, here we go. This was my second attempt at drawing Ronan, and I think it's definitely better than the first one. In fact, for comparison, why don't we hop on back to the first drawing of Ronan. So there's the first one that I had of him. And I thought, that's not good enough. I can make that better. And then I came up with that. So I'd say that's definitely improvement. I think I definitely wanted to give him black hair, like just jet black hair, kind of that Aragorn kind of look. He's got his whole rifle with him. But yep, just little improvements, little baby steps. This next drawing was, well, it was kind of my attempt at a close-up of Marcus. And already we've got like several problems here. The head's sort of weirdly shaped. The hair's just all over the place. The eyes and the face are looking a bit wonky. The facial hair is terrible. Yes, but it definitely gets better from here on out, I assure you. Improvements there. Another redrawing of Teresa, and that's definitely more how I wanted her to look, with a big wide brim hat, with her staff and everything. May have been a little too generous with the bust size. But yeah, no. I think even back then, I don't understand why I didn't bother with the shading. Didn't really do anything, or even in terms of giving each part of the clothing its own individual color. Yeah, even back then, just little baby steps to making everything look better. Another drawing of Marcus, but this time he's getting a little... Oh, now the paper's starting to crease here. A big thing that you ought to know about Marcus is that since his birth, there are 3 very powerful magical spirits that are sort of trapped or sealed within Marcus's soul. And each of these 3 spirits tend to come forth and take over Marcus's body or change him, or take control whenever he's expressing a certain emotion, like if he's angry or if he's scared. And one of the spirits in particular is essentially a gigantic lightning demon of sorts. And this one is essentially of Marcus sort of snapping and giving in to that spirit as it takes over. So you can see his eye freaking out with the lightning bolts. This was definitely where I started practicing lightning bolts for the first time. And also where I practiced foreshortening, because you can see that I'm definitely trying to force the perspective here where you're looking up at him from this, when he's at the top of this building of sorts, just because his boots are definitely bigger in that regard. This is definitely my first attempt at that. 4th character time. And again, I didn't think this one was all that good when I came up with it. So we've got our 4 main characters. Well, technically there are 8, but let's focus on 4. We have Marcus, Ronan, Teresa, and Maria. And Maria is a princess. And this was essentially my attempt at giving her... You can see all the practice that I did here over the sides, trying to get her hair right and her eyes. And this is essentially her royal wear. But this is nowhere near how she actually looks currently. This was mostly my means of just getting the idea down on paper. Here's me practicing Marcus's hair. His full name, Marcus Westergaard. Look at this. This was definitely where I settled on how his hair should look. So you'll be seeing that a lot more consistently in the future. And the rest is just a bunch of practice sketches. So that's all done and dusted with that one. And then we shall move on to the big sketchbook. Actually, this is not even approaching halfway, really. So I think what I'll do, I'll reach halfway through this one, because there's not too much in these ones. There's only a couple in this one. I'll get halfway through this one, and then I'll polish off the rest in a second video. So anyway, I digress. Let's just cut straight into it with a full color drawing of Marcus. This is definitely the point where I fully locked in what he is supposed to look like. So we definitely have all of these pauldrons off to the side, the white coat with the red trim, the belt, his 2 dual sabers, the boots, yeah. And even in this one, I think the only major flaw with this one is just the hair. The hair was okay at first, but I knew I could make it better. And again, the head's a little off in a sense. But I think this was my first and last attempt at doing a full color drawing. And again, I didn't focus too much on the shading. I just wanted to get the color in. I think the only shading that I have is just the yellow bouncing off of his hair. Oh, and the gauntlets. I love drawing the gauntlets as well, because those are just really defined, how I just did those little shading on the knuckles. Yeah, I like that one. Really good way to start this one off. That was a practice drawing, trying to practice perspective. Here is my first attempt at integrating the cross-hatching. So this is Marcus again, and in this one, he's essentially lunging at you with his sword. This was definitely my big attempt at foreshortening, because his foot is way back over there. You can see his forearm and the sword way out at the back. hands and face way too close to you. So the idea is that he's essentially about to leap at you or charge at you. And again, still just little minor details and flaws that I'm seeing even with this one. But yeah, this was the point where I started getting a little crazy with the cross-hatching, which I think I got a grasp of pretty early. But yep, still good. Definitely an improvement from the last couple of drawings. And then I decided that I ought to try and redraw Ronan again, because I still hadn't settled on his design. So I did a couple of practice sketches trying to get his design down. And the end result was this one. So this is Ronan as close as to how I'd want him to look. He's definitely coming into his own here, and even then, you can tell right away. Any fellow artist or drawer out there can pretty much tell that the whole body posture and proportions are really stiff and blocky. Again, the head's a little bit oddly shaped compared to the rest of the body. Yeah, he looks like a bit of a plank of wood, really. But again, I think I definitely got a hold of the cross-hatching. I gave him his rifle there. And I just gave him a little bit of body armor around the neck and the vest. And I think even his signature hat, I think even there the feather's way too big. Way too big. Anyway, on to... Oh, okay. What I ended up drawing afterwards was I did a female and male scale drawing. And I actually followed a tutorial from Mikey Mega, who this is basically the drawing that he did in his video. If you don't know him, you should definitely go check him out. He does a lot of drawings exactly like this kind of stuff, definitely in that anime manga style. But yep, this isn't really my own design. This was pretty much just me copying from his tutorial. So go check out his videos if you want. But yeah, this was definitely me trying to practice getting the proportions right. Really, this was pretty much all the sketches that I learned how to work off of from drawings in the future. I definitely have a bigger challenge of drawing girls, because I drew a lot of guys back in my earlier days of drawing, and I was very used to the straight, blocky lines and structures. But the ladies have all of the curves, so that it was definitely, I think it's a challenge to me, and I like the challenge because it helps me improve. So yeah, definitely enjoying that. Another one of Marcus. I'm not trying to play favorites here, but I really just wanted to get his design down pat. This is essentially Marcus in the first book, the book that I have written thus far. This is him as you see him in the first book. Here he's 19 years old. And I definitely have plans to write more books in the future as part of a whole series. And this is him at 28 years old. So start to the finish of the series. So you can see that he's grown from this naive, concerned little boy who's sort of scared of the world. And then he comes into his own as the hero. Didn't really bother with the shading in this one. But yep, still staying consistent to the design now. I do like the sword though. Yeah, I tried giving him facial here as well, but I'm not sure if he suits that or not. Anyway, and you'll see a lot of high upturned collars in the future. You'll be seeing that quite a fair bit. And oh yeah, this was the part where I decided to redraw Teresa. So this was definitely me doing some practicing before I got it down on ink. And the end result was, oh, I really like this one. Okay, so this is Teresa. This is my redo of Teresa. I really liked how this one turned out. She looks a lot closer to how I want her to look. She's quite tall compared to the rest of the characters. She's quite tall, around about 6 foot. Her long staff there, her signature hat, little ponytail, her braid. But yeah, I really like this one. You can see here, even with these faint little lines here, that I'm really starting to integrate that little structure, that practice with the 7 heads system. You'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, next drawing, new character. His name is Salvatore, and he is essentially the headmaster, or the archmagistrate, as I call him, of the Amberforth Academy, which is a magical institution that all of the other characters go to become practitioners and students of magic, and he's essentially the big cheese. He's the head of the academy, and he definitely has a he's got the whole platinum blonde situation going on. He's definitely older than all of the others, like definitely a wider body in terms of compared to the rest. I'm rambling on at this point. Ooh, okay. Here's one of Marcus and Ronan together. So you got Ronan over here, Marcus to the right, and this was sort of my attempt at doing a cinematic shot of sorts. Yeah, look at that, with the nice sunrise over the ledge. And you can see even here that they're that I'm starting to integrate the magic more and more. But yeah, look at them, they're ready to go. Then I started getting the shadows in. I think that sort of completes the look. But I assure you, I think even from this point, even looking back on this, I keep telling myself, okay, I can do better. And ooh, this next series of drawings, I thought that what I would do is take scenes from my book and draw them, what's the term that I'm looking for? I won't take too long. Anyway, I thought I would take scenes from the book and implement them here and bring them to life. So what we've got here is essentially the first chapter. We've got a young protagonist, Marcus, waking up in his bed after having a nightmare. And this is essentially the whole scope of his room. You can see the light in the center, and I tried to get a little crazy with the shading here as it gets darker further away. So he's got his little bookshelf, little mannequin here, a map of the world, this little desk. And I think what I really liked here is the little detail of the shading that I did with the legs under the covers. But yeah, that's Marcus waking up in his bed. And then, of course, we have the next chapter where we meet Ronan for the first time. And he is waking up on the side of a tree trunk. And he's looking way up past all these other trees here to the sky up above. And as you can see, the 3 moons up in the sky. You can see I tried to showing the crown shyness of the trees, how the edges of the trees don't actually touch each other. So yeah, he's basically just looking out from the branches of the trees because he's been napping there all night. He's looking out to the stars. He doesn't have his hat there, but he'll get that later on. And oh my god. Okay, I'm really, really proud of this one. So here we have Teresa, and this is the quaint little home that Marcus and Teresa live in. And I really tried making this one as atmospheric as possible because I got a charcoal pencil and made that whole background really blurry, and just the footprints leading up here, just hanging underneath. And Teresa just waiting for her brother to step outside. Yeah, even looking back, I'm still really proud of this one. It just really captures that mood that they're just in this winter wonderland that's just far away from the world. I really like that one. What else have we got? Oh, nice. Okay. If we'll have a little flashback here for a second. If you'll remember, which drawing was that? it was this one. Remember this close-up of Marcus that I did, and I remembered how terrible it was? Well, I decided to improve on that, and I did this. And I think this is definitely... I didn't really do the cross-hatching this time. I stuck with the felt pencil, and I definitely... Yeah, I'm quite proud of this one. Because it captures a little bit more the kind of character that Marcus is. I think I should have made his hair a little bit bigger, a little more defined. And as you can see, like, even his face isn't nearly as wonky or as crooked. He's actually got a defined jawline instead of just weird circles. And then he's got his nice suit and everything. Yeah, I really like that one. And after that, I then did another redraw of Teresa. Yeah, and I think this really shows how much of a quiet and reserved person Teresa is. She hardly ever speaks to anyone that isn't Marcus. She's one of those really tight-lipped introvert types. But yeah, again, no cross-hatching, but this time I just really wanted to capture the shading underneath the hat, the smooth eyes. Lips were definitely the most annoying part to do, and I think I'll refrain from doing lips like that from here on out. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there. How much more have we got? We've got about half more of that one, and then some of the other remaining ones. But anyway, I think I shall go ahead and upload this first part. We're already heading up to half an hour. I don't want to waste your time too much longer. If you want to check out the second part, I'll be uploading that very soon. And we'll dive right into that in the next video. If you have any suggestions on how to improve my my drawing, or if you have any questions about the book, I'd be more than happy to discuss that in the comments. And if you happen to stumble upon this video, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.